Having only found 2 kills in their previous matchup. As for Frank Esports, they will be wanting to hold on to 3rd place outright, knowing that there are multiple teams hot on their heels.
Certainly are. Now look, Kenda actually opts for the tier first item. So obviously tier great scaling, but not very strong against this Jace, who has gone for the absolute focus and the scorch. So very strong early game. And also Predator picked up by Kongyue. So not something that we've often seen from the jungle Gragas before, but I do like it. I feel like we even had one game where we remarked that the fact Gragas didn't have Predator.
Yes.
Kind of found difficult for him to find those successful ganks, but has picked it up here. Solo kill as well, goes for both the Ghost and Ignite, so doesn't have the TP, which is interesting.
It really is interesting, right? It's a bit of a gamble because you're so lane focused in this regard then. But I mean, certainly if it does get to an all-out brawl point of the game, then you always are going to have that combat advantage, right? But I think, yeah, it's kind of refreshing to see the Gragas, after the one we just had, actually pop off so well that we're going to go back to a Predator, which, I mean, it was so prevalent for such a long time, got nerfed. I feel like a lot of players then sort of gave up on the idea of it. But certainly here could be the way that Kongyue once again showcases why he has, you know, that absurd KP.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think in the hands of Kongyue is perhaps a different beast, right? He really likes to play for that KP. And Predator, it really enables you to get involved in any sort of skirmishes or ganks early. And I can't think of a better player, honestly, to have it on. But yeah, so far, you know, solo kill. I feel like the Vlad versus Jax matchup is definitely more of a scaling counter. Like, you're not really expecting to get too many kills, but it's very difficult for Jax to get something done in the side lane. Obviously, diving a Vlad is quite difficult. And when it comes to team fights, Vlad, team fight monster.
Oh, absolutely, with the Hemo Plague, right? I mean, you're just absolutely panicking with the amplification that your team can deal out, and certainly with a lot of their late game carries, the damage is going to be just enough. But, you know, talk to me a little bit more about this Vladimir matchup, right? You said it's a bit of a counter, no G1 at that, so really what speaks to mind to you? Is it just the fact that you can just go into your blood pool and sort of dodge out?
I think, yeah, whenever you're playing against Jax, you're looking for something that can both neutralize the side lane and, you know, deal with the fact that he can team fight, right? Most split pushers aren't very good at team fighting, but Jax, I feel like, you know, with the AoE stun, is one of the few that can. So when you're looking towards stuff like the Kennen, the Gragas, the Vlad, a lot of these AP picks, right, they don't worry about having auto attack damage, so obviously the counter strike isn't as difficult as it would normally be to deal with, and then the fact just that you can avoid getting dived. But Kaiwing, he's looking around mid, 116, does not have any cleanse or anything, is potentially vulnerable. All as well, looking towards mid. Kino is going to spot this out. Does find Kaiwing on the Scryer's Bloom there.
Oh, he doesn't get the ward though. That's a big dub. That's a big dub for Kaiwing.
It is. Okay, so coming back towards bot lane, and jungle path is pretty mirrored at the moment, so unlikely to see too much action, but I think if you're the side of Frank Esports, you're... Oh. Okay, actually...
Face shake there with the Zenith Blade. He went for the ward and ultimately going to cop a massive amount of damage in retaliation. Kaiwing even burning the Ignite to make sure that Pretender will get this lead. You said couldn't be the best matchup potentially at the start here, given the fact you are opting for a tier start, but with a helping hand like that, certainly going to help things out.
It is, and I think this is a matchup that normally goes the way of Casio in that 1v1, especially during the laning phase. And I think on the side of Frank Esports, your scaling here just from the Casio and Vlad is so strong that you have to feel like if you get into the mid game relatively even, you're feeling very, very good about that position. Especially because I feel like a lot of the Jace poke is going to have difficult sticking, right? There is, well, I suppose it depends what build Eminem goes for. It actually looks like he is going for the poke Varus. So perhaps actually the poke can stick. I think a lot of it will come down to kind of how teams position before these fights, right? You've got a kind of a lot of boxes that need to be ticked, stuff like finding solo kill a flank, you know, getting him down into the fight without having the TP. But already building himself up a pretty significant CS lead. Obviously there is a big wave here for Lee Kai to pick up, but certainly making use out of the fact that he's got the Aerie and the Ignite for that 1v1.
Yeah, it's always a concern, right, is as Lakai, you certainly can't be anywhere near as aggressive as we've seen these Jaxes be in this laning phase, getting away with things at least before level 6 or before that first major item spike, something like a Sheen. So he's going to have to weather this one a little bit more than he perhaps is used to. Wouldn't be a conventional pick, given it is the first time we've seen this Vladimir.
Certainly is. And so Dragon's actually been picked up here at 5 minutes by Hollow. Kongyue, he's in the area. Frank Esports, though, they have that bot priority. They can perhaps bring 1116 from mid, and it looks like BYG's bot lane is going to be able to force them off. So the Dragon is reset. Will Kongyue look to do it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you could see both mid and bot, the laners were being certainly told, hey, this dragon is being done. You need to be unlocked from your lane right now and help out. And that staunching alone was enough to force Hollow back into his side of the jungle to continue clearing. So no early start, no early soul point.
And I think denying that soul point is important for BYG, right? I think if you can keep at least that first dragon up there for a while, you can be the ones that try and stack that up. And for a team that I feel like needs to snowball the side of BYG, if you can start stacking those dragons early, would feel very good. Now Hollow, he might run into Kongyue here. Will he actually spot him out? No, he won't. Oh, almost.
But Hollow, I think, does know that his Raptors fell on down. Solo kill here, gonna get ignited. Oh my God. When I say ignited, he's going to fall on down. He's burnt. He's dead. Didn't even get a chance to pop the sanguine pool there. And that's BYG with first blood.
Really nice there from BYG to find that angle. It was extremely close, right? Hollow was in the area, and Solo Kill actually loses a lot of his lead off that. A lot of CS did crash under the tower, which will be picked up by Hollow, but the goal would have been much better on Solo Kill's Vladimir. Perhaps the one saving grace is that the kill didn't go over to Likai.
It just feels really bad, right, for Solokill to burn both Ghost and Ignite, to fall victim to a really well-placed Counter-Strike. And especially because I would have imagined Hollow would have been communicating that, hey, Kongyue is in the area. He's just cleared my Raptors. He may be coming top. So, you know, it works out in their favor. The Predator value is certainly rising.
Certainly is. And I think as well, I was thinking, okay, maybe the kill is better on Likai just for snowballing that 1v1, but I'm thinking that maybe Vlad at all points in the game is just undivable, and actually having that kill on the solo AP Gragas is perhaps more valuable, actually. So I want to say, pretty big win here for BYG. Will it turn into anything more? There's Herald not up and available yet. Dragon has not really been touched by either team. Highwing is around mid once again. There's still no flash for maybe 20 more seconds, or yeah, actually 15 more seconds here from 1116. Unlikely to be punished though. Kino just sweeping some of the vision, providing the control that 1116 needs to continue to pressure this mid lane. Actually pinks the river as well. So really trying to maintain control, you know, not give Frank Esports a window to either start up this dragon or kind of look for some sort of bot play.
It might look to try and start up the dragon now, however. Kaiwing is free to roam with his jungler, who is forced to go back into that pixel bush and make sure that the control ward belongs to them. So, I mean, the dance continues really as to who does start up this objective. It's 8.5 minutes in now, and Hollow's going to have another crack at it. And with mid lane basically locked in the middle, really, it should be Kaiwing and Hollow free to roam up and force the numbers advantage. That does obviously allow Kongyue the info that, hey, we can set up this Herald. There should not be a contest.
It looks like it is going to be a trade, and I think both teams kind of get what they want, right? BYG, a team that needs to snowball, pick up the Herald, and they're going to find an opportunity probably to use that and get the gold they need. On the side of Frank Esports, though, you've got a lot of scaling. You know that you can just play for that consistent Dragon win condition. So it's really going to come down to how can teams execute with this, particularly Kongyue. Is he going to find an opportunity to drop this Herald somewhere, or can he get a kill that really opens up the map? He's looking towards top lane.
He certainly is, and if they can get a solo kill or another kill like this again, I wonder if they've just spotted the pet going into that bush, but either way, they're going to go in for the Counter-Strike once again. Flash! With the explosive cask into so much damage again, but not enough to make sure that he cannot buffer in with the Sanguine Pool. Here comes 1116, and make sure that, hey, it's a triple threat flashing on your head. You've got no juice left in the tank. That is hugely punishing. Wave, experience, and a ton of plates now with this Herald.
Yeah, solo kill, despite finding advantages in the 1v1, continues to fall to Kongyue's ganks. And like you said, this is going to be so much going over to the side of BYG. Huge amount of gold, as well as the kill picked up by 1116. There's a little bit of trade back on the bot side, which is better than nothing, but is it nearly as much as you got top lane? I don't think so.
No, certainly doesn't seem to be enough. And it's going to be a massive amount found there by the Jacks, which is going to really bring him back into the game. A Sheen with a call, and 2 assists to your name as well. And what was a fairly substantial CS lead has completely been equalized now.
It has, but a 1,000 gold lead going over to BYG. It's certainly better than nothing, but is it going to be enough, right? Like, you've put solo kill behind in terms of the 1v1. You've picked up a lot of gold on those plates, but I still worry about the fact, I think a lot of it will come down to, can Feng find value on this Kai'Sa? Because I feel like it's a pretty difficult comp to play into, but has, you know, is definitely scaling up nicely and has the benefit of the fact that his team is winning and in control right now. You can see that represented in the goal difference. 1116 as well, picking up a couple mid plates here. At the same time, it's solo kill will snowball slower than before, but will still scale nonetheless.
Yeah, you've just delayed that spike really more than anything, right? So the punishment is that, well, yeah, first of all, you don't have a TP to get back to lane, so any kill just feels a little bit better. But also the fact that you want to make sure that this Jax does become a little bit more relevant a little bit earlier, so he can obviously keep you locked in those lanes before the team fights become a little bit overbearing. Yue once again with a Predator active is going to once again poke his head into top lane. Really reminding Solid that, hey, 5th and final pick, they're not allowing you to get away with murder, but they won't find a kill that time.
He even drops a peg ward for him.
have a free bit of gold. You missed so much before.
It's like a tip. Holo, though, looks like he's going to be able to push out Kong Yue. They have mid priority now, so they're going to finally perhaps buy Solo Kill a little bit of breathing room up here in this top lane. And trades still coming out on the bot side, but Feng, you know, remains within touching distance of this Poke Varus. And I think this could be one of those games where Poke Varus does end up being sort of irrelevant, right? Like, I think there is a reasonable amount of sustain that comes in from BYG and also a lot of engage to punish potentially that Poke coming out. I have to see, because we've had mixed feelings with the Varus, right? Sometimes it does look good.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really failed to hit the mark. Pretender has used his mid-prior to move down here and perhaps will be an extra plate picked up by Frank Esports. But it's not for nothing. 1116 will have priority on that mid-wave. Actually, Pretender might struggle to get back to mid if he runs into Kong Yue here.
He certainly could as pings go down, fully aware that he is on the roam right back, and the Shock Blast will confirm it as so. Has opted for the Rod of Ages. I want to make sure that it's as durable as possible as the hook goes out. Glacial Augment is returned. Look at the damage on the Kino. Why are you ganking me? Beautiful flash to make sure Kaiwing isn't killed in return. And they've ganked them, but died for it.
Yeah, really well played there from Frank Esports. They actually trade 1 for 0 in what I think was a 1v4 there. So I think really, really nice from Eminem and Kaiwing to actually outplay that scenario. And it really sets them up well, I think, for this next Dragon fight in 30 seconds. There were sums used, right? Kaiwing has used Flash and Ult as well as the Ignite. But Dragon only 20 seconds away. Pretender's pretty low on mana. I wonder if he'll try to find a base and TP back before it starts. They're trying to regain a bit of control here. Pretender, I'd like to see him come through the base. Yeah, does start at the recall. Has the TP as well. And I think if Frank Esports can pick up the second drag, BYG will start kind of feeling the hurt from that. At the same time, though, BYG, they have the goal lead, right? You have to feel like they want to contest. Late on the map, though, 1116 does not have TP. BYG, they have to buy some time here.
And Solokill's not even interested, right? He does not have the luxury of a TP. He's running all the way back to top lane. So perhaps the call is, see where you can draw away from BYG. Because what we can see is Lakai is walking down here. Yes, he has the TP to get back to top lane, but it's a rare moment for Solokill to actually find some experience.
Hook goes wide. And you're right, Solokill trading what he can on the top side. I think if you're Frank Esports, you want to try keep them interested as much as possible, but be very wary of the fact that you're potentially playing a 4v5. Oh, Lee Kai TP's top, so this is now a 4v4.
It certainly is. I think Frank Esports have got what they want from a strategic standpoint. As soon as the reveal is that Jax is top, Lakai, or rather Solokill, might now start to roam on down and say, no, we have the 5v4. Question is, though, that wave is going to shove in, and it's going to be a lot of plates lost. I mean, actually, the turret itself is going to be lost as a result of this one. So, Solokill is going to hold the mid wave, but the second dragon will be going the way of Frank.
Yeah, big gold swing for the way of BYG. At the same time, though, Frank Esports will now be able to potentially pressure the soul point pretty early into the game as well. And this is kind of a trade that we see again and again. You know, do you value the more early game, you know, the gold from the towers, from the Herald, or do you prefer stacking up those dragons? Definitely different win conditions here. And I think as long as teams play to them, you know, both can certainly be viable. You do have to worry, though. Like, I feel like despite BYG having a small gold lead, it doesn't feel like it's enough of a gold lead that you can end this game before Dragon Soul becomes a problem, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you still got to wait for your Kaiser to get a few evolutions under her belt. You got to make sure that, yeah, obviously this Jace is hit the mark as well with a fully evolved tier. As for a lot of these champions, right, waiting for that tier spike is going to be the big point where we'd imagine, you know, a big 5v5 is about to break out. But as it stands, I mean, it really is all about 1116. Most fed in the game. And then there's a bit of a power struggle between both the likes of Eminem and Lakai as to who comes in at second.
Eminem as well, I think, or actually, sorry, 1116 on the Jace, you know, pretty much built this lead by himself, right? He got the kill from roaming up top with his mid priority. Also took 2 plates and a CS lead all by himself. So this is all as the blind pick, first pick Jace as well, right? Oh, Chains of Corruption will come out, the stopwatch as well.
Yeah, so a really good stopwatch, and the piercing arrow afterwards is enough to make sure that you are guaranteed going back to base. But the stopwatch certainly prevented his death. That Solar Flare would have spelled disaster.
Can they get anything off this? It feels like Kino at some point now will have to reset. Will it be now? Potentially, but with, you know, 2 ultis burned, can he really siege the tower? I kind of don't think so. Looks like we will most likely just be waiting 3 more minutes for the Dragon and the Baron to spawn. And Solarkill finally picks up the Night Harvester, so starting to scale into this game, which does feel good. BYG, though, they're getting pretty aggressive on the mid wave. They're bringing all 5 members mid. In fact, all 10 members are coming mid at the moment.
Yeah, it certainly is, and a big reason is because they want to summon the second herald that they've managed to acquire. That has been their trade out for these 2 dragons. First found top turret, second now looking to explode into mid. And that will get their second turret in the game, opening up more avenues for them to attack from. As lanes will be flipped, and Lakai is forced to run bot.
He will have to go bot and answer this wave, as you just said. And I think, you know, during this time, it feels like BYG aren't really making use of their gold lead, right? They're not really finding anything more than just, you know, waves, the mid tower that was destined to fall anyway. So will it be enough? I mean, they have around a 2.4k gold lead here, but 2 minutes on the Dragon. I think Frank Esports, they've definitely got the scaling they need. At the same time, I feel like if you're Frank Esports, you have the luxury of giving this Dragon if you want, right? You can just buy time, more scaling on your Vlad and your Cassio. But I think also they're strong enough that they can fight it if they want.
I think so. I mean, level 11 has come across, right? So the second point into your ultimate, you're starting to feel pretty good about your chances, especially with those mythic items complete, about where things go. Maybe you do invite the testing as to just how strong are we at this given moment. If it fails, it's not the end of the world. You know, 7 stacks in a Rod of Ages. You still got time to work towards the coveted level 16 and have another crack at that soul point later on, right? But with Baron around the corner as well, I think you aren't really too concerned if you are, what, down 2 to 3k gold?
Yeah, I definitely think the scaling can certainly make up for that. And obviously, if you pick up a soul, the gold lead, you know, it almost doesn't matter at that point. The soul just worth so much gold on its own. 1 minute away here, though, from the neutral objective spawning. And currently, Frank Esports are the ones with control. Will they be able to keep it? I'm not sure. Actually, second item is picked up here for Pretender. I think pretty important spike. Wasn't sure he'd quite have enough gold to pick it up, but does have it in time. And with the Dragon, again, being so early in the game, right? The fact that they've picked up 2 already, third Dragon, normally a Dragon that you kind of have time to wait for, is going to be fought before Baron even spawns.
Yeah, which is actually a really interesting breakpoint in this game, right? Because it certainly forces a bit of confusion as to how do BYG also want to approach this. As much as we say, what did Frank do? How much do they sacrifice? There's going to be 2 things happening at once here, potentially. And a team fight loss here could certainly result in 2 objectives being picked up back-to-back. So far, Frank Esports in the river.
Kongwei, I think he's looking. He gets a little bit of poke. Frank Esports, though, are they going to give up this mid-wave? I feel like they can't, so they might end up losing their control over this area. It is difficult, though, for BYG to start it up, right? Can very easily get poked off it and allow solo kill for a big flank angle. Well, Hollow perhaps looking something early.
Yeah, Lakai could be in trouble right now. Solakil does have the advantage, right, of no TP, but he's right by that Dragon if that were to break out. Has the Ghost and Ignite, but Ignite already being used on that occasion. Chain of Corruption blindly across the wall. Not going to find what they need.
Goes wide, and I think this is starting to look better and better for BYG. I feel like they have the better position. They've used the Vlad ult, or sorry, the Vlad Ignite Hollow's very, very low. I really like this for BYG.
Yeah, Hollow's gone. Oh, the explosive cast missed, point blank. Hollow's been given a rare chance to survive. The smite is still intact, but his HP bar is far too low that this dragon is gone. They will not entertain the idea of going for their third dragon. But this is now an interesting point as to what do BYG do here. They can get this one for free, but do they look at Baron after?
Yeah, so they pick up the drag. Can they look for Baron after? I'd say probably not. I don't think the DPS is quite there, at least not before Frank Esports can answer. And I think, you know, wise decision from Frank Esports to say, okay, this fight isn't looking as good as we'd perhaps like it to. And can wisely just give that one up and buy a bit more time for scaling. Same time though, BYG, I mean, they managed to pick up quite a bit of gold off the back end of this. Looks like this will be the tier 1 bot falling as well. Have they overstayed their welcome? They've got Kaiwing in the area.
Oh, they were considering it. Now backing off, shying away, but still saying, hey, these are staggered recalls, isolated members. Perhaps there's a world in which we can run some of these members down. Doesn't materialize in that way, unfortunately for them. BYG will get away with it, and they will be able to hang on to that 3K lead they've had for what feels like the best part of 10 minutes now.
And the Wit's End is actually completed for Leakai and the Jax, so perhaps can start to play towards that side lane a bit more. At the same time, Solokill is itemizing towards that Void Staff, so when that comes through, we'll kind of reset that lane back to normal. Frank Esports now potentially looking at this Baron control. Despite being down in gold, have extremely good Baron DPS, so can do it very quickly just with the Cassio. I mean, even with the Lethality Varus, Cassio alone can do this very quickly. That being said, though, I feel like, again, for both teams, starting up objectives is always risky because there is a lot of poke coming in from both teams. So it can be difficult.
Yeah, certainly if the Jason and Varus are both still alive, then you're highly concerned about doing a dance unless you've got a flanking angle to try and quickly make it one favored for yourself. Let's see what happens here, though, because the Road of Ages is now finally complete at 10 stacks. So level 14 is here for the Cassiopeia. But the side lanes certainly are a point of attack, which BYG have put a lot of effort into, right? 3 turrets to 1.
Yeah, and as you say, there has been a lot of effort, I feel like, put into snowballing from BYG, and it has kind of brought them to a 4K gold lead. At the same time, though, only 2 kills, right? And only a first dragon picked up. So not a lot of kind of, I feel like, tangible lead outside of, obviously, the gold. And I think a lot of that, you know, like not having the drags can be kind of a big deal, right? A lot of the time it's just if you're the comp that needs to snowball, having that extra kind of guaranteed scaling from the dragons feels very good. Anyway, he might look for something around mid, and it's not like BYG really scale bad. I do just think that Cassio and Vlad scale a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's to the point that they're worried about getting outscaled. But it's always nice to kind of have those dragons as your backup. 2 more minutes here on this next drag. I think Solokill should be able to pick up the Void Staff in time, and I think it is a pretty important window. You know, there's a couple Merc trades as well as the Wit's End completed. So not having the Void will feel difficult. And Pretender also looks like he's itemizing towards the Rylai's, or perhaps the Demonic, but most likely the Rylai's, which will mean he won't have the Void for dealing with the Jax. So kind of saying, okay, Solokill, you know, you're going to be the guy that has to deal with that. Eminem gets chunked very low. Probably needs to look for a reset here. Void Staff is completed now by Solokill. And Baron has been live the whole time, but no team's really found the tempo to be able to go and do it. Hollow perhaps looking top.
Yeah, there was so much vision planted around the Baron. It was this weird dance where they were just in a 1-4 split between top and mid for such a long time. Both mid laners were the only ones that had their TPs available. And they were both not opting to play towards that bot lane. So it was a bit of a weird stalemate for a second there. And ultimately, I think both teams came to the same conclusion that, hey, we've run out of wards. Both have been cleared out. Let's just go back to base, repeat our business, stick to our lanes, and maybe just wait for this 4th dragon to spawn.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there will just be a little bit of waiting for this 4th dragon. And it's got to be a big one, right? Because I think if BYG can pick this up, potentially they can play for a late game dragon win condition. At the same time, though, if Frank get it, Engage comes out.
It certainly could. Kino with instant regret, flashing away straight away. There goes the depth charge onto Kaiwing, but he nullifies that with a great stopwatch. So still no inclination of a big team fight. There is explosive cast, 2-man Solar Flare, 2-man Cyclone afterwards. Kino with the hook, but still no clear target as to who they want to kill. Lakai's in, the Counter-Strike finds nothing, and Kongyue's in trouble. Hollow can't kill, confirmed. Kongyue gets away on just under 200 HP, and we're still yet to find that 4th kill.
A huge amount of damage goes over, but no actual kills. Frank Esports, though, with their DPS, they're looking towards the Baron, and this one will not stay up long. Kongwei is extremely low. He's going to try contest on very low health. Will he be able to? Huge poke comes in and hits Hollow, a very key target. Both junglers on 1 HP here.
Certainly is. Both junglers have such a crucial role in this one, but so low, so risky is this one. The poke, as you highlighted before, could be devastating, and it certainly is. Summoner Hill comes out. It's a contest, it's a steal, but it will not be so. It's Frank with the Baron. Frank disengaging away, but how many members will survive with this buff active on their head? Solo kill, trying to do so much. But as he comes back up, he falls on down, and Eminem nearly on the tail end there, sniped away Feng.
And I think perhaps just a little bit ambitious from Frank Esports there. The DPS obviously is good. It's not as good as perhaps if you had like something like the on-hit Varus and the Leandries on the Cassio. But up against so much poke, right? You've got the Gragas poke as well as the Jace. I think 116 did about 3,000 damage just poking on that Baron. I think as well, you know, so much of it goes on to Hollow, who just ends up really low. Fortunately, did manage to secure the Baron. But I feel like overall, it is better for BYG. They managed to tie up the Dragons, take some gold off the back end. And I think actually taking Baron off the table completely for both teams is probably better for BYG. Let's take a look at the replay. So, I mean, health bars are extremely low here. I feel like there's just... They're not really... Ooh, yeah, once Kaiwing kind of messes up with the turn, there just isn't enough threat onto the poke anymore, right? It can just keep coming through and there's no real trade back. 116 constantly found massive windows. Also, Lee Kai finds really great angle off the back end. So, yeah, big one for BYG. On 116, though, he does not have the flash anymore. He's in a 1v3.
Yeah, he certainly isn't a 1v3. Zenith Blade just a little bit too short. Jumps back in, tries to remove Eminem, but it's not to be enough. And that certainly feels good when it is Eminem, your sole survivor with that Baron buff, able to find his second kill of the game. Their third overall. BYG, though, as you already mentioned, certainly going to be feeling pretty good about their chances in this one, right? Baron being removed, another Dragon found. They've stabilized the soul point. They're looking to try and remove as many of these late-game conditions. But it certainly is a tall ask now that we have actually hit that point where level 16 is starting to be found by the likes of a Cassio and a Vlad.
It is, but I think at the same time, the gold lead has ballooned enough that you're starting to kind of be able to really push this gold lead even further, right? I feel like when the gold lead sits at around 3,000, do you really feel strong enough to look for dives? I don't really think so. But I think now, BYG, they're definitely strong enough. They've got their core items here that they're going to be able to really start forcing Frank Esports back. And despite, you know, Frank Esports having the scaling, at least in the Cassio and the Vlad, both of them are pretty weak, right? No Void Staff completed for the Cassio, as well as no Rylai's. And solo kill sitting at 0-3 on the Vlad.
Yeah.
It's really just up to Eminem.
It really is. And it's a bit of a rough, you know, ask at this point. It needs to all go down to the poke Varus as he needs extra damage sources. I think what's really impressive for me is BYG's identification very early on into this game is that we need to target these solo lanes, put them behind so they can never team fight us. I mean, you can see the third item picked up here by Lakai is the hull break here. You know, noticing that, hey, if we just split push and never let them team fight, what does their comp really actually achieve?
Yeah, and I think that especially putting behind solo kill was a big win, right? If you're a Vladimir at 28 minutes and you've only got the Night Harvester and the Void, they're both good items, but there's no big AP coming through, right? There's no Rabadons or anything like that. Actually, I'm kind of fishing for something from Kaiwing, but I feel like there wouldn't have been follow-up for that anyway. So curiously on ult coming out, Baron now is gone from Eminem.
Oh!
Wow.
Killer Instinct, that was a little bit cheeky, a little bit rude, quite honestly, as the Ghost Blade was instantly popped with a Shadow Corruption for good measure too, and Feng didn't even have to cleanse. That's how confident he was in his ability just to hit that ultimate button and see what would happen.
Hollow, he's trying to look for something, but already chunked low. And I think right now, BYG, they have so much control over this game and so much poke coming in here from the Jace as well.
Oh, big cask. Keynote not really wanting to go for the depth charge, however, to follow things up. Not really content that the explosive cask found the target they were after. And maybe just looking to try and zone them back with HP advantages that they can say, look, these turrets, they're going to continue to fall on down in our favor. 5 turrets to 1.
Yeah, BYG, they're really starting to just take complete control of this game. And I think as well, you know, if you can take away these jungle camps and stop both the Cassio and the Vlad from picking up any more gold, you can stop them from reaching those breakpoints that they need to actually really contest. I think, yeah, both objectives here will spawn in a couple minutes. And BYG, I mean, I want to say they've been in complete control most of this game, but really it's been sort of soft control, right, for most of it. But now perhaps getting to the point where they can force fights over and over. They are kind of the aggressors on each of these objectives. And perhaps you're seeing the fruits of giving up those first 2 drags, saying that we can get the gold lead that we need, and then using that gold lead that you gain from that to contest the drags after that.
Yeah, I think really for Frank Esports, it's all about making sure that you win this next major team fight around that Dragon or that Baron. You lose that one, I think you kind of write off your chances in this game. But as for BYG, if they never even give you the chance of going for that, if they can continue to siege that they've been doing so successfully, have the Baron, we get an inhibitor, keep trading up in that fashion, be feeling pretty confident about their chances in this one. And I guess, once again, you know, raising the stakes. This is a pretty big game. Frank Esports, they win here. They continue to be in 3rd place outright. And that's what's happening right now as a big team fight will follow. He's in trouble. Petrifying Gaze goes across. Flash to disengage away from that explosive cask. In comes the Kai. He's got the stun. But that's enough to force him away.
It's a 1-for-1 in the end, but that's the jungler going down. Hollow falling. Can anything be done with that? I mean, his death timer is pretty long. I think that could just end up being Dragon picked up uncontested here for BYG. Will Frank Esports perhaps try and look for the Baron off the spawn? I don't think you can. I just really think you're too far behind at this point to look for anything like that. And without the Void stuff on Pretender as well, it's going to have a big problem dealing with this beefy front line. And yeah, I think BYG will just pick up the drag and feeling in firm control of this game. And it's very different, right, from how this game first went between these 2 teams. I think, as you said, it was like Frank Esports with 20 kills to 2 or something, right? It was a very one-sided affair. But now BYG, I'd say it's their game to win.
Yeah, this time less kills, longer game, but the kills have been very calculated is what I would say to try and describe this one, right? It's been all about BYG playing for the map as Kino is going to go for a nice little flash away, dodging out that solar flare. Still in a fair bit of trouble, still quite squishy, but he's done enough with the buff of that hook. Carving now, jumping across the wall and making sure that he protects his team, and then flashing away from Feng, who is dead. He had the killer instincts, but not enough to find that kill. And Frank Esports will find a moment of reprieve.
Feng, I don't know what you're doing there, man. He ulted to like, what, 3 dudes, and he also burns both his sums and doesn't get anything out of it. Frank Esports, they can perhaps look to turn on this Baron. It's essentially, I want to say, a 5v4?
Maybe even a 5v3 with Kino being so low.
He's extremely low. But BYG, I mean, they have the higher health bars and they have the poke. You know, solo kill very, very low. It's about to get taken out. Does burn the pool.
Yeah, now certainly Frank Esports cannot take this one despite numbers advantages. Their HP bars basically match what would have been a 3v3, you'd say. In jumps the Kai, finds a double, and the smash goes across and gets another one. I mean, it's just a little bit too clean so far. The poke, the damage, the all-in threat, and the team fight team is getting out team fought.
Yeah, I think really Frank Esports, they took too long to make anything happen there. If you don't either instantly do the Baron or instantly force something in the 5v4, the poke coming out from BYG is just too much, and there's not enough sustain coming through, especially with solo kill being so far behind. It's not often you see a Vlad of all champs chunked out before the fight starts, but that's what BYG found there.
That they certainly did, Shock. And now straight on towards those Nexus turrets. They want to end this game. They know they can end this game as they both crumble down. Nobody here from the side of Frank to defend it. And with this win, we go back to a 4-way tie in 3rd place.
Yeah, I think statement win there from BYG as well, right? They're a team that they've struggled a little bit. And again, the last time Frank Esports kind of annihilated them. But now tying up that head-to-head one for one and then kind of re-establishing that 4-way tie. It's insane, right? We're in week 4, day 3, and the playoffs still feel as close as ever.
They certainly do. And now you start to ask your question of like, okay, we feel like we know what our top 6 is. And I want to say I kind of know what the top 2 is. But outside of that, I mean, it's just such a unsure, uncertainty, I guess, really is the term you're looking for, because everybody's taking down everybody, and it's a case of, on the day. And that's the scariest part, right? Because what does it mean when we start to walk into, best of 3s and best of 5s? How much diversity do we really have there to try and test these teams?
Yeah, and that's something that I think is worth bringing up, because a lot of these teams will actually fare a lot better